Happy Monday, everybody. Now, I'm delighted to say that joining me is my friend, Mr. Adrian Durham. Adrian, we spoke after the first game against France, and I said it can't be all doom and gloom. We've still got this, and sure did we have it. Did we expect? Oh my God, we went into the Netherlands game. We've beaten Wales. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling much more positive than I was after that first game against France. And what a difference a week or so makes because they came back against the Netherlands and were so strong, absolutely dominant throughout the whole game. They didn't really give the Netherlands a sniff. So it was brilliant to watch from the Lionesses. And then the Wales game, which England were expected to win, obviously, but we knew Wales could make it tough. They'd drawn with us last time out many years ago, but they're capable. They've drawn twice with Sweden this calendar year, Wales. So they can make it tough for bigger sides, but England's got a rather dubious penalty, I'd say, to start with, and then built from there. And they were always going to win it. But yeah, they got the job done. I'm glad that France came back to beat Netherlands because it meant that England finished second, and that does help enormously. But much more positively, and they played the way we know they can play. There was a lot more fluency. Prefer Lauren James coming in from the right. Ella Toone, absolutely magnificent. Makes me wonder why on earth she was left out of the first game and why on earth she was left out of the cup final by Man United.
Oh, the cup final one really threw me off. I mean, I always say in Serena we trust, but I want to ask about the atmosphere because I've played in many of those games against Wales, right? And they absolutely hate us. Like I can feel it. So before the game, everybody that I was working with was really confident. They're like, England are not going to lose this. I'm like, I don't think we're going to lose, but it just seemed like Wales ran out of gas, like the emotion, but like the atmosphere. The Welsh fans have been unbelievable, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. I mean, I think a number of teams' fans have been unbelievable. They've been really good. Portugal was sensational. I was with them in Sion. They played against Belgium and they were really loud and they took over that place. It was lovely to see. But Wales have been brilliant. There's no question about it. And they take the red wall with them. Sometimes maybe, and this might be sound a bit harsh, maybe the players get caught up a little bit too much in that. They were around fan zones, sort of day of the game or day before the game, and you're wondering where their heads are at. And I felt they might have regrets actually, the players from Wales after the England game yesterday. I think that they're better defensively than they've shown in this tournament. We've seen that in qualifying in the Nations League. They are better defensively, but I know they lost a centre half just before the tournament in the game against Italy. But I think that they're better than they showed, and I think they'll look back on it in time and say, "Yeah, we had some great memories. The fans were brilliant, and we've broken ground by getting to a tournament only 20 years after the Welsh FA withdrew funding." But I think that they'll think they could have given a better account of themselves.
Hey, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because obviously I'm not out in Switzerland. For those people that are not out there, like what were the players doing in the fan zones? Like what was going on?
Well, there was nothing negative really, because it's just players connecting with fans, and that's one of the beauties of the women's game at the very top level. That still happens, even with the Lionesses, to a lesser extent now. And because there's so many fans, it's more difficult for players, and I think everybody understands that. But with Wales, there was a real, true connection between players and fans, players mixing with fans, and fairly close to the day of the game, if not on the day of the game as well. And whilst we don't want to see that go, and I don't think the Welsh would want to see that go, I'm just wondering whether the mindset of the players was affected by that, because you can get caught up in the emotion of it. And sometimes maybe they wanted to charge forward, they wanted to reward those fans who were loud and proud, when maybe they should have just held position, stayed in a block, and kept England out. I think Rianne Wilkinson possibly got caught up with it as well because she went four at the back, and it's hindsight, of course, but maybe you go five and a little bit more defensive, and then if England break through, you have to come out and attack. But I think they'll have regrets about how they played it, and maybe it's a learning process going forward in tournaments.
Yeah, and I want to come on to our Lionesses, our England team. Let's talk about the team selection. She changed it up against the Netherlands. Ella Toone coming in, Lauren James going out wide. Then the next game kept the same lineup. We know what Serena's going to do going forward now, don't we? Because she doesn't really change her lineup. How do you feel for Beth Mead? I mean, it is football. Personally, I think in that first game, loads of them could have been changed, right? But ultimately, it just was a bad day at the office for everybody, which doesn't really happen often in an England shirt or in any shirt. Beth Mead gets taken out, then they seem to have good performances. I feel for Beth a little bit, but it is football.
It is. And before we talk about Lionesses, one thing we'll add about Wales is Hannah Kane from Leicester came on. This is a regular WSL player, came on against England. She was sensational, scored a brilliant goal, was driving and dynamic. And I wonder why on earth she didn't start the game. I don't think she started the last game either. Something's not right there. When a player with WSL experience who's actually really good doesn't get in the starting lineup, are you giving yourself your best chance?
Mm.
But onto the Lionesses, you talk about it. I think you're right, possibly right, that Serena will keep the same side. Although Lauren Hemp's minutes have got to be managed, and I think the word is that maybe that's all she could manage, the amount of game time she played against the Welsh, and possibly for Thursday. If we'd been playing Saturday, it might be different, and that's what would have happened had we won the group. But second in the group, played Thursday here in Zurich, and I wonder if Lauren Hemp might be just taken back out of the firing line, put on the bench, because Beth Mead, when she came on, a goal, a really good goal. It was a Vivian Miedemar goal, wasn't it? Where she checked back and scored, and an assist in there as well. She looked back to her best after in the first game being so poor. So I think there's a real decision for Serena to make. Lauren Hemp or Beth Mead. She's notorious for staying with the starting lineup. You're right. But what a joyous position to be in, because when I looked at the bench, you've got players coming on like Beth Mead and Chloe Kelly coming on. The young strikers are there, and
Aggie
Aggie Beecher-Young
Beecher-Jones.
scored a goal. I don't think she gave a great account of herself. She's better than what she showed in her performance, but she got a goal. What a strong squad. And that's the difference between the Lionesses, I think, and the rest of the contenders who are now in the quarterfinals. The strength in depth on the bench is stronger for the Lionesses.
So, Adrian, England have grown into the tournament, haven't they? And I think there's one thing that separates like the men's team and women's team amongst many things. I think an England men's performance in a tournament, it kind of never gets better, does it? If we start poorly, we usually carry on ending poorly. And I think that's why we all get carried away when there's one bad performance. The media back in England, everyone's saying, oh, England are going to get knocked out against the Netherlands. Whereas it's weird, isn't it, with the Lionesses? Because we seem to get better as like there seems to be like, okay, we were poor against France. I was thinking, oh my God, we're going to lose against the Netherlands. But then we put on that type of performance.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, but the great thing about that is, listen, that Netherlands game was everything. Have we lost it? We're out. We're going home. They put on an incredible display, and they played very well, and they got the result that they wanted. And I think that is the turning point. It's almost like that gave them the confidence. Similarly, with the France game, and when it was 0-0, and Lauren James had a good chance early on, she then put a great cross in that nobody took a gamble on. I think now those chances would be scored, and had they been scored, and I know it's a bit of ifs and buts, had they been scored, I think that game would have been completely different. So we're talking about a different Lionesses side over these last two games, fairly obvious from the first game, but I think they've got what it takes. What's interesting with Sweden going forward is that Sweden aerially are fantastic. I think all three of their goals in the 3-0 against Poland were headers. And this is the time where we're thinking, okay, do we really need a Millie Bright? Have we got that aerial strength at centre back to deal with those players? So it's a different type of test for England, but I'm still confident they have the squad, they have the players to win the quarter final. I actually think they've got what it takes to go on and win the thing,
Yeah.
but little way to go yet.
It's funny as well because Uma was saying that after the second game, she was like, I think we're going to do it. And I didn't quite believe it. I don't know if I still believe it now. I want us to win it, obviously. But, I think I'll come on to the Sweden game in a minute. But the fact there were six different goal scorers, Adrian, like
Mm.
that just speaks true to how good the strength and depth is of this team. And Alessia Russo finally scoring after getting three assists.
Yeah, Alessia Russo. Do you know why she scored? It's because the pressure was off. Her brother has been dumped from Love Island. She doesn't have to think about that TV show anymore. And that everything is good in the Russo camp. So it's all focus on Alessia. And actually, with us, Tash Dowie said in commentary that there was the first touch she took. When the ball comes across, it's low. And I think a panicky Alessia Russo, desperate for a goal, would have just lashed at it, might have missed it. Who knows? It might have flown in, but she took a touch that kind of disarmed everybody and slotted it home. It was brilliant. I was so happy for her because she's played so well, got the assists, and now she's got the goal. Maybe kick on and get some more. Yeah, she was fantastic. I thought, but obviously not the only one. And you're right, different goal scorers. It's a bonus. And can we just take our hats off to Georgia Stanway, who's been out since December?
Mhm.
Comes back for the game in Barcelona against Spain, plays 45 minutes there, and now looks like she's never been injured. It's a biological miracle. It's a medical miracle, and she's scoring goals. She's dynamic. Kira Walsh was excellent as well. Ella Toone, fantastic. That midfield is looking really strong, but I'm so impressed with Georgia Stanway, and I genuinely don't think when I think of players, can we win it without such and such a player? I think Georgia Stanway is the main one. We can't win the trophy without Georgia.
A massive turnaround as well when you consider after the game against France. I mean, a lot of us were saying put in Grace Clinton. Georgia Stanway probably had her worst game in an England shirt, but like we can forgive her. These things happen because she's pushed on from that. I want to talk about the Sweden game, Aid, because I know you've been at other games. I want to talk to you about those as well. But like, I personally wanted to play Germany. I mean, I was actually doing the commentary on the Netherlands France game. Netherlands were winning 2-1 at half time. And then it looked like England were going to be playing Germany. And it sounds crazy because historically, Germany do beat us, as we know in men's football and women's football. But Sweden look good. They never seem to know how to get it over the line, but they've got really good players. And the mindset for the Swedes, they never seem to kind of have that fearlessness in games. But I personally would rather play against Germany.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and Germany without the captain who's injured, of course, they'll now have a player suspended as well. I do get it because Germany have not looked brilliant. They don't look like winners of the tournament. The only issue with going in that side of the draw is you get Spain in the semi-finals, and there's an issue with that. It's not that we can't beat Spain; we can beat Spain, but once you've beaten Spain, I think you think that there's a mental side of it that says, well, you've got the job done now, but you've got a final to play, so. I mean, I think meeting Spain in the semi-finals it would be detrimental to England. So I'm pleased that it's worked out the way it has. And Germany, I just don't see them as winners. And that game in Zurich, I was at the other night on Saturday night. Germany started really well, scored. Sweden then equalised. Black Stenius with a terrific finish, and she's looking strong in this tournament. I think scoring the Champions League final winner has really taken her confidence sky high. So they've got some good attacking players. That's Lionesses good. And Angeldal in the first game against Denmark, crucial game. It was in the balance. And I think she was the difference between the two sides. So some players to watch out for. But let's also remember that in Jennifer Falk in goal, wow, I think they've got the goalkeeper of the tournament. The stats say that anyway. She's conceded the fewest goals. She's only conceded one so far. She's in the top five when it comes to saves made, and she's got the most clean sheets of any goalkeeper at the tournament. So England had the work cut out getting past her. I saw in that game on Saturday, I saw Germany being poor, particularly after going down to 10. They had no game plan whatsoever.
And Katrine Berger as well. Like she's been brilliant for Gotham in the NWSL, but she's been really poor. And also her coach has come out and spoke before the game about her as well, which doesn't help because, as a goalkeeper, any player, but if you're psychologically like confidence is a big thing as a keeper. And I really felt for her because she was poor. She doesn't need me to tell her that, but she seemed to get worse as the game went on.
Well, I thought Russell Martin was in charge of Germany because they just kept trying to play out from the back and it was going wrong. Sweden knew exactly what to do. They absolutely punished Germany. And I just couldn't understand why the players didn't take hold of the situation and say, right, okay, forget this. We're going long or hitting the halfway line from goal kicks. Let's just abandon that idea. And if the coach don't like it at half time, we'll deal with it at half time. But also as well, the red card, baffling decision. I mean, there's a school of thought. We were discussing it the morning after, and there's a school of thought among the ex-pros here, Courtney Sweetman Kirk's here, Tash Dowie as well. There was a school of thought that actually just head it away. Could you not have possibly done that?
It was an
Or just
instinctive touch, though, wasn't it? It was an
possibly,
instinctive
but
touch. Look at Suarez, like when Suarez did it
sure, yeah, but I mean
against Ghana.
that would have definitely lost you the game. This was first half.
Yeah.
So either let it in and you've still got 11, try to head it, and if it goes in, you've done your best. But the worst case scenario was giving away a penalty and getting sent off. And now she's out of the quarterfinals. I just thought it was baffling. There's something not quite right with Germany. But Sweden absolutely got the job done. But I don't think the key is there, Leanne. I don't think they looked particularly special. They've got some good players, but I think as a team, the 4-1 scoreline flattered them a little bit. They deserved to win the game, no question. Okay. But I think a lot of it was about Germany doing some really poor things rather than Sweden carving out chance after chance and being brilliant. It was about Germany being bad more than Sweden being brilliant.
Yeah, I agree with you because the first 20 minutes, I thought it was going to be a matter of how many. When Germany went 1-0 up, I was thinking they were
Yeah.
steamrolling them. So, Ada, I want to ask you, what do you think our chances are then against Sweden? I mean, in the last tournament, we obviously played them, beat them. They seem to fear playing against the Lionesses. They really do. I feel like we have the psychological edge. I feel like we have better players. But how do you fancy our chances against Sweden?
I fancy them strongly, England, to be honest with you. And Whenever it's England Sweden from now on, all I can think about is that Alessia Russo back heel, because one of the greatest goals I've ever seen, and in terms of how a crowd reacted in a stadium, I think it's the greatest moment, I think, in terms of that. So, I mean, it was a very special thing, and it was the goal that turned 2-0 to 3-0, and you knew that England were then in the final. So it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, actually, that
I
goal.
agree with you. And it was crazy because it was then when people started kind of watching the Lionesses, wasn't it? And everyone was doing the Russo in the playground. Then you had some people that we won't mention that were saying, did she mean it? Wasn't that good? The keeper needs to be doing better. I was like, okay, guys, come on now. But yeah, I agree with you, Aid. It was like, and for us, like, we talk about special moments all the time to be part of that. And you guys out there as well now, it's fantastic. And hopefully you could be the good luck charm, Aid. Let's
Well,
forget
maybe.
about your twos out of tens in the first game. We're giving them all tens out of 10 now.
Well, I've brought my Frank Kirby t-shirt. Well, that hasn't worked, has it? And also, I think I was there for the first game. That did happen. We can't airbrush it out of history, so I'm not sure how much good luck I am really. But I think they can go on and do it. I think they will beat Sweden. Then it's Norway or Italy in the semi-finals, and then we're expecting Spain in the final. As brilliant as Spain have been, we know they've got flaws, and I do believe that England are stronger in depth than Spain. So it's on. Let's just say we've had our blip in this tournament. Spain haven't, but it's on. England, could they possibly retain it? By the way, what an achievement that would be! Incredible.